Okay, sorry for the gremlins this morning. You are not kidding that it is afraid. Okay. So I don't know why it didn't want to work this morning. It was just like being really persnickety. Hi, Aisling. Hi, Ryan. I'm so glad you guys are here. Everyone, I'm author Elizabeth Ann West. I am one of the instructors at Future Fiction Academy, where we all work together to, harness the AI for our writing. Today, I have a book that has 35,000 words on it. It is a Jane Austen fan fiction, because y'all know that's what I write. And so it is going to be kind of exciting this week. We're going to use the artificial intelligence to help finish the book. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to publish raw AI words that I did not edit and I did not validate. Of course not. But the big thing about today and this week in particular is we're going to do a little bit of a field trip in understanding the limitations of the AI, and then that will help us with the theory of what we need to do in order to help it to think. And then on top of that, you guys are going to be able to see a brand new tool. It's a prompting tool that is coming to Future Fiction Academy. I love it so much. We call it Rexy because we always make the joke that don't be a T-Rex. Don't forget that your hands reach the keyboard. Well, I'm going to be serious for just a minute here. Many companies are working on being able to cut us out of the equation. Those of us who are creators, those of us who are writers, those of us who are the dream makers. And I think that there's two reactions to that. The first reaction is, I hate it. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to use this. And I'm just going to pretend that this is going to go away. The other way to handle it, which is what my choice has been, is I'm going to beat you to it. That's right. I'm going to beat them at their own game. I am more nimble. I am faster. I understand the AI, and I don't have to go through a bunch of corporate red tape for any kind of decision or anything like that I want to bring to my readers. So that being said, that is what we're going to take a look at today. So welcome, everyone. I do hear that Claude is pretty insane. Yes, he is. I do love Claude. I will say, though, that it's not as simple as, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll do some of this, I guess. How many of you have been able to just throw your book into Claude that has 100K context and have Claude just finish writing it? Don't worry, I'll wait. Or has the pacing been too fast? Has Claude tried to finish the book in one chapter instead of, 6 or 7 chapters? Anyone? Yeah. It kind of works, right? Exactly. So, what I share today won't necessarily be the easiest way. It is just what I do and some of the things that I do in my processes in terms of getting the best stuff out of the AI. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Okay, so give me 1 second. Because of the gremlins, I will confess I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball. So just 1 second. I'm going to present my screen. Yes, share screen. And it's going to be a window. And yes, it's going to be this one. So the first thing I have is a gift. And that is, let me kind of get my life together over here. Hopefully I don't have anything sensitive. I probably do. Okay, so first things first, let's get you guys a link to the hub of information that is going to be for this entire week. So let me go ahead and share. And this is public, so it's not like it's a secret or anything like that. And let me go to the chat, and I will share this after the live stream. I will get this into the description. So if anyone wants to put this as a comment, you will have my eternal gratitude. The link for the page that I will be updating as we go along. Now, last live stream, live write-a-thon that I did, little bit of criticism in the sense that I did a lot of prep work with our Future Fiction Academy, and our students are all in the chat right now. And that was like, it took a whole week of prep in order to be able to run the AI the way I wanted to. So this particular thing, it has the information on how you can join FFA. It has exactly what times the live streams will be in Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And then I have a list of tools, including Rexy, which you guys can already start to see a little bit here. Give me 1 more minute. I'm going to stop my share for just a second. We'll put that on the deck there. I want to get a couple of other documents open here, and I wasn't able to do that when it wasn't listening. So let me get those open real fast. Fill up the chat with any of your questions that you want answered today, because that is what we are here for. So we're definitely going to need that one, mom number 6. And the book that I'm writing is actually book 6 in my series. That's why I'm really comfortable doing this live in front of people, because quite frankly, if someone tries to steal it and publish it, it won't make any sense because you don't have the other 5 books. So that's why I'm like, okay, well, I can do this one live. The other book that's live, I haven't given up on it. It's just that one I got a little bit confused personally, writing live, that when I actually went in there to start playing with it, I wasn't laughing. Like, it was supposed to be a comedy and I wasn't laughing. So I did more work on it, and I did like 19,000 words in a day. And what I basically came up with is that The Gentleman Is Mine just needs a little bit more simmer time in my subconscious. That book is probably another book that's coming out very soon. And I might do another Write A Thon for it now that I have better structure and stuff like that, and better systems in place. So Heart of Marriage, that's what I want. And I want this, I want Mom Number 6 with no notes. And then I also want the Story Bible So Far. Yes. Oh, that's not what I want. Not the Story Bible So Far. I want the Master Outline. That's what I want. All right, good. And some of these I'm going to go ahead and share real fast. So the first thing I'm going to do is anyone with the link can view. This will also be shared into the YouTube as well, into the description, but let me go ahead and give it here. I don't see any questions in the chat. Okay. So this link that I'm giving you right now, this is actually the current outline for this book. I will continue to share this link and everything like that, because I do want people to be able to follow along as I'm working on this. Oh man, I forgot how nerve-wracking this is to do. So you do have that information there. While I'm writing this week, I'm going to be validating very quickly up and down, like, nope, yep, yes, no. But if you guys have the outline, you guys would be able to read that outline and kind of get a feel, like understanding what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Okay, I think we are almost ready for go time now for sharing the screen again. The last thing I just need to double check is, okay, I think Fast is ready to go. And then I need my Brontosaurus page up, which I know you guys are like, what the heck is she talking about, Brontosaurus page? Oh, you will know one day. All right, so I do have my Brontosaurus page up. Let me move that over here, which is funnily enough called T-Rex, which is, you know, that's the thing. All right, so live writing, here we go. I'm going to hope and pray to the privacy gods that I don't accidentally share a key or anything like that. Worst case scenario, I'll change the key. Let me go ahead and bring back our thing right here real fast. All right, so everyone can see my screen. And we don't want to go to that page. We want to go to this one. And we want this one to be the first one on the page. Okay. So let's go ahead and start making a little bit of a plan to get started with here. And I did this last time in class, but this time we're going to do it live. So human plan. Okay, so I have a book. I have a novel that is 35,000 words. Okay. And it's about 15 and a half chapters long. Okay. I kind of know where things are going, but it's a little squishy. Now, what I need to accomplish is I need 10 more chapters, about 25 to 30,000 more words. But they can't just be any words, right? And I think this is the challenge with AI, is that it can't just be any words at all. So in my master outline here, I do have chapter 1, list of settings and the story beat elements, chapter 2 of what happens. Now, at the bottom here, I did actually give myself, the last time I was working on this project, and I highly recommend you do this, some breadcrumbs, in that the sense that I have a list of things that I need to get done for the remaining stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy this out, and I'm going to take it out. And the reason for that is because we're going to be using this master outline as a component for mega prompting, because this will help the AI know what already happened in the story for AI tools that don't have as big of a context window as Claude. I'm going to come back over to the Future Fiction Academy, and I'm just going to put, this was the breadcrumbs I left myself for plot, so you guys are able to read it and everything like that. So this story takes place at Pemberley. It is book 6 in a series. Like I said, Elizabeth's pregnant, Anne de Burgh is pregnant, Anne de Burgh is married to Richard Fitzwilliam in this story. The crux of this story is actually that Sir Louis de Burgh had an illegitimate child, which was George Wickham. And that is why George Wickham was sent to Pemberley to be raised by the steward and his wife, but basically was very well favored by Mr. Darcy Sr. by being sent to school with Mr. Darcy and all of that. I was giving a reason for why Darcy and Wickham were so close growing up, even though if he's the steward's son, they really should not have been at the same school and everything. So at any rate, this book series began in 2014, so it's almost 10 years since I started it. And in this story as well, Elizabeth her parents tried to force her to marry Mr. Collins because Mr. Bennet was sick that everyone didn't know. So he was he was a different kind of Mr. Bennet. He really wanted her to marry Mr. Collins because he realized he thought he wasn't long for this world, etc., etc. Some of that is actually based on some of my own experiences when I got really sick in high school. My parents changed when suddenly their teenager was not able to walk. So now I walk just fine all the time, all over. But I had some experience and some emotions that I was able to captivate in this series. Not that my parents were anything like Mr. Bennet and Mrs. Bennet. Oh my gosh, no. But the emotion aspect of it, because that's what we do as writers, right? We take the emotions that we feel and we put that through to our writing through characters and different fantasies and different setups. So this story is different. Jane and Bingley did get married. Jane had twins. And now at book 6, for a variety of reasons, Longbourn burned down. Everybody's at Pemberley, and it's Christmas time. Georgiana, by the way, was forced to marry Mr. Wickham. Mr. Wickham was terrible. Georgiana was terrible. Georgiana had a son, and she's at Rosings. Wickham was shot dead in book 3 or book 4, one of those books. I think it's the end of book 3. But he was murdered because he was part of a mining scheme that was set up by Lord Strange, who is the son of the Earl of Derby. So all of this was set up in book 1 by my subconscious, mind you. I did not have all these storylines necessarily planned out entirely. And in book 1, Mr. Darcy and the Earl of Derby butt heads at the club because the Earl of Derby is mad that Georgiana is being married off to Wickham. And Mr. Darcy's like, what? Why are you upset? Because he planned in his head for Georgiana and her dowry. Forgive me if people say it Georgina. I'm American. I can't help it. It's Georgiana. So if I'm making your skin crawl, I apologize. But anyway, Georgie, he was planning that, this will be easy. I'll just get the guy who's an orphan, my next door neighbor, to get his sister to marry my son. So all of this will go away. Because only he knew that his son was basically doing a pyramid scheme in London. And now by book 6, we have a problem because the Prince Regent is caught up in it too. Big names are now caught up into this mining scheme because what Lord Strange did was he took original investors claiming there was silver in Derbyshire when there hasn't been silver in Derbyshire in generations. But, people will always pay for the chance to be rich. And so he took people's money, and since there was nothing, he took more people's money and he paid the first people with the second people's money, as those of us who are familiar with that fraud. Does that make sense to everyone? Is everyone on board now with this story? May the T-Rex be with you. Yeah. So everyone has a little bit of context now for the story. And wow, we're at 13 minutes, so not bad. Okay, so next, the first steps of doing this is, number 1, I need to kind of finish off. So this is going to be, the no notes one is going to be our master document for right now. So this will be our master. I'm going to come down here, and yes, I do write in Google Docs. Oh my goodness, this is like too tiny of print, but that's important. So this is actually raw AI. This is not raw AI. The bottom is raw AI. Why is the text point? Okay, so yeah, that's 14-point font. Yes, everyone, I'm old and I do 14-point font. So let's go ahead and bump that up to 14, and now I can read it. And oh God, it's still like terrible looking here. Let's go ahead and fix this formatting. So I'm just going to highlight it. For those of you who know, you never press tab when you are publishing because tab does not exist in an ebook. So you actually have to set your tab like this. You just grab this little doohickey at the top and just move it over. Okay, so now my first line is indented here. So here we are at the ball. So at the appointed hour, various guests, I knew this, began their descent down to the ballroom. You are beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Do not worry. I know how to keep them out of trouble. Great. They're going to keep the little sisters out of trouble. Okay. I need to go down here to the bottom here. So right before this scene, there was there's land that's in dispute between the Earl of Derby and Mr. Darcy, and that is Baslow Dale. It's not a real place. I name things based on, like, I'll look at the town names, I'll look at the rivers, and I kind of like put stuff together. There is a town of Baslow. There's a river Derwent, that's real. But Baslow Dale is like this idea. And what I came up with is these generational homes, right? Everything was set hundreds of years ago. But the river Derwent changed. I have that it changed its direction a little bit. So you can imagine if a piece of water changes the way it's flowing, and that was the property line, what's going to happen for people who feel certain property is theirs? It's going to be a dispute, right? And this actually does happen all the time. So I'm going with the Baslow Dale is what I created. So right before this ball, everyone's arriving, and then somebody from a tenant farmer comes riding up like, Mr. Darcy, Mr. Darcy. Mr. Darcy and Dr. Matthews, who happens to be living at Pemberley, long story. They rush out there because there was a tenant farmer, and I need to refresh myself with what the heck their names are because we're going to be using them. They had been telling Mr. Darcy that basically the Earl's men had been, like, encroaching on the land and being intimidating, like, you better leave, blah, blah, blah. Well, there was a standoff. And during that standoff, unfortunately, the tenant farmer did have a musket, and he inadvertently shot, and he accidentally hit the leg of one of the guys, and he fell off the horse, and everybody ran away. So now there's like this really big problem of one of the Earl of Derby's men has been shot. Dr. Matthews put a tourniquet and treated as best as he can. It's always fun to research 1812, 1813 medication or medicine. And now they're at this ball knowing that at any moment right now, there could be kind of like an armed conflict or a serious civil conflict between Mr. Darcy and the Earl of Derby. Thankfully, the Duke of Devonshire is at this ball. I know, how convenient. And he is kind of the king's magistrate for the area. So the next scene after this ball, they're going to be in the study talking about what the heck is going on and how we need to fix it. So thank you, your lordship. Very well. Speak your piece, Mr. Darcy. Thank you, your lordship, etc. The Earl of Derby's eyes narrowed, and he seemed ready to protest. But before he could voice his objections, the Duke of Devonshire approached the group, his eyes fixed on Elizabeth. I do write third person omniscient, but I do try to fix it a little bit so it's only focusing on one character for the most part in the scene. So the Duke's going to dance with Elizabeth. That's a big deal. Spied Lady Matlock, taking her place with the Countess of Derby, and she sighed in relief. They're in cahoots. Lady Matlock is Richard Fitzwilliam's mother. Lord and Lady Matlock in this story are allies of Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth. So that's going on. They rarely are, so they make small talk. Elizabeth was kind of on bed rest for a bit, so they kind of did Charles and Jane were overseeing the decorations. And they previously had already toured Buxton Hall so that they could possibly move away for that. Now, Lord Bromington, let's talk about this snake. Lord Bromington is Lord and Lady Matlock's wayward son. It's Viscount Bromington. He's terrible. He's going to die in this book because I don't like him. Kitty has a studio, and he went up there kind of like, you can paint me. All inappropriate stuff. He was trying to mac on Kitty and trying to hit on Kitty, and so he must die. But also I want him to die so that Richard can inherit. But anyway, so he got busted. Kitty got away. Kitty told Jane. Jane told Lord Bromington off. But now Elizabeth knows, so he's getting a second tongue lashing, basically, like, I will end you. So that's what's happening there. Mrs. Bingley already made herself quite clear, Mrs. Darcy. Not as clear as I will be, your lordship, shall we? So reluctantly, Lord Bromington took her hand and led her to the dance floor. As they danced, Elizabeth, with a steely resolve in her eyes and an unwavering voice, made her position, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is just telling. I hate this. This is not good. The good news is we do have some raw AI that I had already run, almost a year ago, months ago. I don't know. It's probably in one of the videos somewhere. Most likely on the pseudo-write videos. Okay, so we're going to go down to the bottom here so I can get to the raw. And here I can see the raw AI so that... So what I'm going to start fixing here is my assistant Catherine is under my protection. We can't have this. I meant no disrespect. See that you do not. The dance then concluded. All right. So this is what I want to finish up this scene, this chapter, because this chapter is really freaking long. But I'm going to have to fix it. So in order to fix it, I'm just going to take this snippet over. I'm I'm actually going to go to pseudo-write. And the reason I'm picking pseudo-write for this is because pseudo-write has laser tools. And what I'm trying to do right now is I just need to kind of like massage this last little ending a little bit with my own writing and with the AI. So Lord Bromington groaned. Mrs. Bingley has already made herself quite clear. Not as clear as I will be. So obviously I've got to change this dialogue here. We can't have, I trust I made myself quite clear. Like, oh my gosh, the repetition, right? Kill me now. So I want to rewrite this. And I'm just going to grab this one line. And I'm going to click rewrite. I'm going to click rewrite. Why is this not working? Please highlight it less 10 years. Okay, fine. We'll highlight this entire thing. And we'll click rewrite. And we're going to go customize. And we're going to say rewrite to make more threatening. There we go. Now, an alternative to pseudo-write, believe it or not, if you're doing this, is actually Notion. Oh, I like this better. Any further attempts will immediately be met with the full power of my wrath. You have been warned. Okay, I like that one. That's pretty cool. Lord Bromington nodded, seemingly cowed by Elizabeth's firm resolve. Actually, I think he's going to be a little bit like, yeah, you're not going to really hurt me. Lord Bromington snorted. And then something along the lines of, I've been pecked by many a hen before. Let's see. So if they're dancing, they're not waltzing. There's no waltz. So they would be like holding hands. Elizabeth dug her fingernails into the knuckles of Lord Bromington. Hand in hand down the line. For those who have never done Regency dancing, let me explain what I have here. So you do a lot of like, it's almost like square dancing in a way. So you're standing as a couple and you do a lot of like twists and turns, but every once in a while you grab hands and you're like do-si-doing this way and then do-si-doing that way. And so I'm imagining that when she's doing this, she's able to like dig her fingernails, I guess into his palm, not dug her fingers into the palm, into the sensitive palm. There we go. A vice-like grip with her thumb. Because if you're holding someone's, see, they have their hand here and I've got it here. Okay. Yeah, I guess into the back of his fingertips. Backs of Lord Bromington's fingers. There we go. As they sidestepped down the line. Okay. So he thinks I've been pecked by many a hen before. Ha ha ha. You're not going to get me. This should not be that. It should be a M dash, which I always get this wrong. Nope, that's not the right button. It's option. There we go. It's option, shift, and then the little hyphen thing on a Mac. So dug her fingers in. Oh, let me check the chat to make sure I'm not boring anyone. Sorry. I know this is like the not sexy parts, right, of writing where you're just like trying to fix something. Oh, good. Other people are up to big fonts too. All right, so let's get this done. Man, the time is flying by. This live may be longer than an hour and a half. That's okay. Okay. Dug her fingernails into the sensitive backs of Lord Bromington's fingers as they sidestepped hand in hand down the dance line. She jerked the man closer to her, so I'm gonna fix this in edits. I know this is not good writing right now. We're just trying to get the words on the page. I wonder if pecker was used back then. I think it was. Pecker etymology. Let's see. Oh, yeah, 1690s, one who pecks. But, oh, slang for using penis not since 1902. Okay. So how about we'll figure that out. This is where I would usually pull out my Regency Can't. That's Georgette Hires. Regency World. I have another little book on just the slang of it. I just had it the other day too. Oh, there it is. Regency Slang Revealed. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be easy to do either. Okay, but cock, definitely. I know that. It's got to be, right? YouTube is going to be so mad about this video. Okay. When did it become vulgar? Whatever. My reader. If I can't find it very easily, neither will my readers. That's how that works. You will trying to think of like how this twist is going to be. Like I'm trying to mix the metaphors about, you know, the barnyard, the hens, all of that. So after my pecking, you will no longer as a worthless ill-mannered cock that you are. Okay, there we go. That'll work. That'll work for right now. Nodded, seemingly cowed by Elizabeth's firm resolve. Of course, Mrs. Darcy, I meant no respect. See that you do not. Elizabeth replied, leaving no room for further argument. The dance concluded and they broke away without another word. And then they went to their study. Okay, good enough. Not bad. 254 words, and we are at 30 minutes. So I'll come back to the master right here that we're using, and to the dance floor. The message was simple. So this is changing. Yeah. This is changing right here, I think. So I pasted that in. I'll fix the line spacing later. Reluctantly. Okay, so it's right here. So I have too many reluctantlys here, so I'm going to... Okay, so that is repetition right there. So we don't need this. And then that, okay. And what you can do, the real fast way, is just to take this and to make it normal text, and then that'll take it away that, and then I can just go to 14. I should change the, I need to change the template for what my normal text is. I'm just lazy. So there we go. We now have something that is ready to move on to the next chapter, chapter 16. And the total word count on this is 34,581. Okay, any questions so far about the very basic thing I did, which was take a few paragraphs into pseudo-write and fix the dialogue? Fix it a little bit. Probably not. Okay, so let's do some experimentation. So let's go with the first thing that we want to talk about. I'm going to edit and I'm going to select all. This is literally just the raw manuscript. And we're going to go to Claude. And we're going to basically prove what we just talked about, that you, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, you cannot just copy and paste a whole book. So I'm going to paste this into the chat. So there it is. It turns it into a text file and say, finish writing this novel in 20,000 words across 10 more chapters, matching style of the writing already, right? This would be the magic button, right? If we could just do this, hey, here's 35,000 words. I want you to finish writing this novel by adding 20,000 words at the end across 10 more chapters, matching the style of the writing already. Go. This is not going to work. If it does work, then cool. I don't have to do a write-a-thon for the rest of the week. Here's what I predict will happen. Either two things. I'll start trying to continue the story, and I might have to say continue, 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 and we'll see what we get. If that happens, again, I don't have to do the write-a-thon. This is great. What I think is actually going to happen is it's going to write me an outline of those 10 chapters. Like, it's going to read what it did, and it's going to read what's in there, and it's going to outline 10 chapters of what could happen. So, okay, so here are 10 additional chapters to continue the story in the same style as the existing chapters. Well, this is not bad at all. Let's see. So we have chapter 17 where she's there. He is all I have left in this world. Then you must secure his future. Even if this is actually really good. I already planned for Julian to ask Georgiana to marry him. Well, great. Okay, but it's got, okay, we may not have to do the write-a-thon for the rest of the week. I just have to expand some of these. So they're in the study. So I just need to rearrange these chapters because I want to go straight to the study. They're not going to promise. He would not make that agreement. That's not going to work. The son would pay for the father's sins. Okay. The problem is that Sir Louis de Bourgh and Lady Catherine de Bourgh are very much dead. They cannot be. What the heck? What is this? From the grave, one hopes Sir Louis found solace in Anne's happy marriage. That chapter makes no sense. Chapter 20. Now we're at the Yule Ball, which already happened. Okay, so it's now with Dr. Matthews. Let us pray Dr. Cooper arrives swiftly. Okay, I could use that material, some of that material. Okay, now we're at Christmas morning. I've never seen it write this much. Has anyone else? Although it's not really. It's probably writing about 700. It looks like about 500 to 700 words per chapter. Dr. Cooper is the doctor coming to heal Mr. Bennet. He was a forefather of vascular surgery, believe it or not. And he had already performed some surgeries by 1812. Like I said, researching the medication and the medicine at the time is fascinating to me. Okay, so now he's going to Lambden. Mr. Grant. That's the one where the person... Oh, no. Okay, I kind of like that, though. I was not even thinking about doing that. I do like ratcheting that up. Well, then I have to resolve that. That's not going to be fun. Oh, I'm going to make a note for that, because if we do use that, then I'm going to insist that money goes to the grants. Money goes to the grants. Oh, I missed what was happening. Now we have Kitty. So I'm going to say right now, this doesn't actually work completely. Okay. These scenes make no sense. It is a jumbled mess in the sense for what the plot. It's getting some things right. I can see chunks that I can use it to influence and everything like that. But it's not, number one, my scenes are not, like if I highlight this, yeah, that's what I suspect, about 500 words. That's not even 297 words. Anyone writing chapters that are 297 words out there? It's not bad material. It was a good effort, but it just can't do what we wanted to do. That would be in a perfect world. But it did write 2,786 words. I don't want to lose some of this because some of it was some decent ideas to it. So I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to come to our fast page because, excuse me, this I like to work in Notion now. Notion's new to me, so I like to do this because you can just turn it into a page. And so now, nope, that's not what I meant to do. I want to turn this. You can one click it, turn that thing into a page. So now it's a page. And now I can highlight this, which were the breadcrumbs, and I can literally grab it. Come on. Okay. Grab, if I make it so I got the little Mickey Mouse hand, I can grab all of that text and then shove it into that page. So it kind of like it allows me to like have this workspace that I can condense words. And then when I want it, I just open this up and bam, it's right there. Or if I don't want that, I want it back on this page, you can also click these dots and you can turn it back into text, and it like basically opens back up. Another option for those who don't know is you can grab this and you can also turn this into a toggle. And if you turn it into a toggle, now it just disappears like this. I prefer pages personally because pages I can move around a little bit, but we'll do the toggles for right now. So a toggle is kind of a cool little thing of Notion. It's really, really great in terms of functionality for being able to be nimble with your story. All right, let me go back to the chat just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, Notion is definitely worth it. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it does go off the rails, and it inspires some side plots. I have the most success aiming for about 500 words at a time with Claude. Absolutely. So here's where I think it's time for me to share Rexy a little bit. So let me go back over here. I'm going to give this a shot. We'll see what we can do. So this is Rexy. This is an experimental prompting interface that is coming to Future Fiction Academy. And my catalog that I have here is this. I'm actually going to go to my novel writing section, and we're not going to use, I'm going to probably end up using Claude 1.2, but I'm going to use Claude 2.0 for right now. So using Claude 2.0, I'm going to go ahead and load this prompt. And once I do, it's on my prompting screen. Like I said, this is alpha. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, but this is coming to all students of the Future Fiction Academy. I'm hoping it's going to be September that we're going to be able to let you guys play with this. And then October, we'll have like the stable version. Then eventually this is going to turn into like really advanced coursework and stuff for people who really want to learn. This goes back to what I said at the very beginning. There are people out there who are trying to make it so we can click a button and get a book, or whatever the thing is. I'm not going to wait for some corporation to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And when I do, and pretty much we're pretty close to that, we'll see in just a second. Then the other thing is that I want to share that with everyone. And that's the philosophy behind this tool. There is no secret sauce on this tool, meaning that it is literally a prompt engine using your own API keys. So this is not a pseudo-write. This is not a verb. This is not anything. This is designed for professional authors to be able to come together, share the best prompts, share the best sequences and the functionality and stuff. So it's like the Photoshop of writing books, and making all of us fast enough that we can keep up with what's coming down the pipeline. So this has a system prompt already here. It has a user prompt. I don't actually have a character list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this a little bit, because I can change it on the fly. I'm going to say read story information. Read story brief. Actually, we'll do that. We'll call it story brief. Story brief. And then this characters thing just refers to the characters box. I'm going to actually use the outline box. So actually, let me do this. I'm going to take out characters entirely. Read. We're going to change this to story brief. That'll be the outline box and story brief. And story so far, which is going to be everything that the book is already written, and then write chapter, whatever the chapter one is. It's not going to actually be in the outline because I'm not going to give any information. And only chapter blank. Make the chapter, let's bring it down because that always causes us to be a problem. So we're going to bring that down to 2,500, not 25,000, to 3,000 words. You may expand the story beyond the story brief so long as it doesn't contradict the story brief. That's what we want to do here. And if you're wondering what the heck is going to be the story brief, you'll see in just a second. Above all, what you write for chapter must connect seamlessly to story so far. Please write end when you're done writing chapter, whatever the chapter number is. Okay, so I'm kind of hacking this prompt a little bit. So the story so far is actually going to be the 35,000 words. So, and this is just a trick with Claude here. So I'm going to go tools and I'm going to grab all of this. How do I do that? Edit, select all. That's what it is, Elizabeth. Select all, copy. And then we're going to come over back into Rexy. Is that Rexy? That's Rexy. I'm going to paste in the story so far. So I need to remember that the next one that I want to write is chapter 17. So I just put, not outline, I'm sorry. It's where the chapter number is. I'm just going to put 17. Now I'm going to add to this prompt a little bit of what I want to have happen in next. So I'm going to say here, chapter 17 should be Mr. Darcy and the Duke of Devonshire and the Earl of Derby walking in Mr. Darcy's study about the incident at Baslow Dale, and that the situation, and end with the Duke asking for peace to be kept until the matter can be taken to London. Okay, in the spring, when Parliament opens. When Parliament opens in next month. Now, for those of you who are watching this and being like, where do I get this tool? How do I do this? These things that I'm doing here, you can do this with any API, okay? If I was going to chunk this a little bit smaller, we could do this with Playground. This is just, I happen to have a Claude API, and I'm working on getting API keys for other people or how that's going to look or anything like that. But I'm able to access Claude directly from through the, I do pay for it too. So I don't have free chat like everyone else does. But these methodologies and stuff, believe it or not, we've had success of just context stuffing, meaning you put all this into a document and you call it out with these layouts and everything like that, and then prompt it into the chat. You can do that too. This tool is just going to be very helpful because you can do it on the fly, and then it sends it straight to Notion. And then you just do the next prompt and it sends it straight to Notion. So it's a lot faster than all the copying and pasting we all do on a regular basis. Okay, so I have the story so far. I've tweaked the thing. And now in where the outline box goes, I want to bring the story brief in. And the story brief is actually going to be everything that is the master outline. And again, this is word count set 6,683 words. This is, oh, you know what? Oh, dear goodness. Chapter 14. I don't think this is accurate for the last part of it. Yeah, it stops at chapter 14. Not to fear. Not to fear. Okay, so chapter 13, chapter 14, which I don't even know if that's the right chapter. So here's what we're going to do. Before we run Rexy, because I don't have the right information in my master outline, because I've done chapter 14, 15, and 16. No worries. I just have to get that information. The good news is that's an OpenAI prompt that I already have in Rexy. So we'll do that one first. So if I come back to Rexy, not that Rexy, this Rexy, I'm just going to change my prompt. So I'm going to go back to my catalog, and it is going to be, I think it's in brainstorming. And yeah, it is story constitution chapter by chapter. Actually, I could do the multi-chapter one too, but we'll go chapter by chapter. So this is going to be using GPT-4. So I'm going to load that prompt. And then I go to the prompt page. And this one is going to make a story constitution report for a chapter. You'll put the chapter text in the chapter box. So read the chapter given and give a detailed report. It has an example of the report in system. Again, none of this is secret sauce. These are all prompts that we have been teaching in Future Fiction Academy for months on YouTube videos and things like that. This concept of do the thing, here's some brackets, here's the information you need to do the thing. And that's what we do. So read the chapter given, write a detailed report. So I need the chapter. So I'm going to come over here to my master, and I'm actually going to run. I know I made edits. Like I know I split chapter 14 and chapter 16. So let's see here. Chapter 14, no Jane Nursery. Okay, so that one's that one. Let's go ahead and run chapter 14 just to be safe, because I know I split chapter 14 into chapter 16 and 15 and 16. So we're going to grab this. Wait a minute. Did I lose where Mr. Lord Bromington, like, totally, if that's chapter 12, sorry about this, guys. Chapter 13. Oh, nope, she's sketching. Oh, yeah, tell me what inspires you, he said huskily. I told you, he's a total jerk. Would you paint me? He asked. Kitty took a step backwards. I am less than an apprentice, sir. He waved his hands in front of him and grimaced. Kitty, that's what they call you. Yes, we're family. Please call me James. Yeah, no, dude. Should not be in the room with her alone. All right, so we're going to grab this. He's also a rake. Like he's a rake in other parts of the story. So chapter 14, and I come back to Rexy, and we'll just put this in here. And this will have the AI settings, which is GPT-4, 0.7, and the maximum length, which is cool. We're not going to auto log to Notion right now because that's coming. It's coming later. If I auto write to Notion, I just have to put what the title is that I want this to be, and I'm just going to call this chapter 14. Thank you. Let me check here. The example report, I don't have curly braces in here. So that's just in brackets. And then we have here, we have study pants. This was back when I was playing and I pushed it. Okay. Read the chapter given and write a detailed report for characters. Also include analysis of the chapter using the information in, yes, not that. I want to have it in, what? I don't want this part. That's not what I want. So read the chapter given and write a detailed report for character setting and plot elements. That's all it needs to do. It's got to read the chapter, and it knows from system what the chapter example report's got to be like. I can even say that the detailed report should be similar in format to the example report. And yes, there is a difference between the squiggles here. Squiggles here refers to this box. Square brackets refers to just some kind of variable I'm calling out in my system prompt. So we're good there. We're going to go chapter 4, mom number 6. See, where did it go? Down here. Make sure, yeah, I want to always click out, make sure it gets it right there. And then we're ready to go. And I'm just going to process GPT-4. And of course we get an error. That's how that works. That's always how that works. And it is always Notion that like wants to have a problem here. So here's what we'll do. We will not auto write to Notion right now. Not a problem. And process it because that's fine. And that's not fine. Okay. Well, maximum tokens. Thank you. So this is my problem. I had the prompt up too high. So we'll bring it down to just, it shouldn't need more than 2,000 tokens to write back. Oh, switch it to Claude. This one I gave the chapter. We're okay. We should be okay on the maximum tokens for this for GPT-4. So, yep, update the LLM configuration, and now I'll process it. There we go. My bad. But this is the wonderful thing. You like this tool. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the full control. So many of the AI tools for writers coming out, it doesn't give us full control. It doesn't give us exactly what the prompting is. How many of you have played with tools and like you asked it for it to do something and then it came back something weird and that's because there's prompting in between. Like there's stuff you can't see. That even happens on Poe.com. We tested it in the FFA. We were testing things where like what you would give it in Claude versus what you gave that same prompt in Poe using their Claude would yield very different results. Like you couldn't get the same results because there's other things going on in between. I'm going to check the chat here. Okay. So it's calling API. The reason why this seems so slow is because it's actually not slower than usual. And I'm going to show how we run this in Playground as well. So we can do that. So here we go. I got my completion right here. I can see exactly what was sent to the AI. I can see exactly what was, and we're going to fix the Notion thing where it goes automatically to Notion. It's just Notion is doing its thing right now. But I already have chapter 14, the list of characters, the list of settings, and the story elements. So I can copy this, come back to my master outline, and let's grab chapter where it says chapter 14. And I think it was pretty similar. I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to paste and match style. Paste. I freaking hate Chrome sometimes for this. Okay. It pasted in and it's okay. So it has the characters and everything like that. Run it again and put a Notion. Okay, I'm going to try that. So the person who is the brains behind this, the development of it, says I can try it again and it should work. So do I need to refresh the page? I know you're sending me messages. the Notion wasn't broken. It was the context window. Okay, I can run into Notion. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do the next one in Notion. Just one moment. I have the dog. Everybody knows about Dasha. Come on. I know you only come in halfway through my teaching. You're so needy. I know everybody else has has fur babies and understands. For those who have seen me teach many times, my dog will not come in my room when I'm ready to start teaching. She will not come in my room at the end. She has to come in the middle. It's always funny. All right, so let's go back and we will write to Notion and we'll do chapter 14 and we'll click process. And it's going to send this now to the Brontosaurus page, as we call it. It should pop up right down here as mom number 6. You guys can see that we've been hammering on this tool. And the reason I love it once it's ready for development, like once it's ready for prime time, is Karen Brown, one of our other instructors, we were playing with it on Saturday, and we don't realize how much time I just want to make sure it's going, how much time it takes to copy and paste back and forth. We also make jokes. I know Ryan's in the house today of like, just set it, make it go, and go wash your dishes. And then once this runs, what's cool too is that we ran into a situation where we started getting a rhythm, where we were running a chapter and then we were going and validating that in Notion as we had another chapter set up to go. So while it was running, we were able to validate another chapter. For those of you who have watched my pseudo-write videos and things like that, my pseudo-write teachings, you know that I love to like, okay, be efficient. One thing's going, I'm validating the other thing. So now we have not the exact same completion, but a completion, because you know that it's going to come up with something slightly different each time. So it has this. And if I come over to my Brontosaurus page, right there is the Notion page, chapter 14, with everything in there. So let's run it again, and let's go ahead and get chapter 15 done. So I'm going to go to the prompt, and I just need to change out. I don't have to change the chapter number. I only have to change this out. So I just grab this box, delete that, come over to mom, no, nothing here. Let's grab chapter 15, copy that, come back over to Rexy, paste it in. And then down here, I'm going to change it to chapter 15. Chapter 15, mom number 6. Click out here, make sure that changes, and go. And now that's ready to go. And then I'll come over here and go ahead and copy chapter 16. The ultimate goal is to get us out of the habits of having to copy and paste back and forth all the time. So I have chapter 16 ready to go. I already grabbed chapter 14. I can go to the Notion page too, just so you guys can see it. Okay, right here. So it does have the list of characters, it has the list of settings, and it has the story beat elements, which is pretty similar to what it already came up with. And I'll go check the chat to see if anyone else's jaw is still attached. So there's a question in the chat about, is the AI unconstrained? No, it's not unconstrained. That is a thing that we're always going to run into it. Unless we do something like Novel AI, which you can write whatever you want, which does have an API key, by the way. So we have that on our radar. But the other thing is that OpenAI and Notion, even if you send it through the API calls, which is the same thing that these other tools like Verb and pseudo-write and other tools are doing, Poe, they are also still restricted by the same amount, because that restriction comes from the companies who own the AI themselves. It's not coming from the companies who are giving you access or anything like that. Over here, you'll see chapter 15 is done. If I come back over here to my Brontosaurus page and come down to the bottom, there is chapter 15 all ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in chapter 16 because I have it in my jump cut. Jump cut is a tool that has everything pasted. So there's chapter 16. Come down here, go ahead and change this to 16, click out, and process that. So now that's running. I can go ahead and grab chapter 15. Isn't it so cool? Like, it's just so fast. You just like, okay, do this. Okay, now do that. This is the no notes one. I need to come to the master outline. So we had chapter 14. I'm going to paste in chapter 15. List of characters, settings, story beat elements, and it's done. And then chapter 16 is going. And then once I have this done, we'll go back to that Claude prompt and push it. I do have plans to develop prompting for OpenAI that's more like cyclical and stuff, because it has a smaller context window. We can only, and that might look like things like we summarize what happened already in the story, even smaller than 6,000 words. Like I have this element because I'm being lazy a little bit, this master outline that has characters and settings and the outline, the story beats. I may just need to give them the story beats and a list of settings and things like that. It also may look like where I'm going to have better tooling to pick and choose what elements come into the story and which ones don't based on the chapter I'm written. But right now, we're just massively context stuffed in Claude 2, and we're going to get it to write chapter 17. And I think we have time for that before this this writing session ends. And I did promise I would show how you do this manually. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah, the dog is always a priority. Thank you. All right, so let me show you OpenAI Playground while that's running. So you go to the OpenAI platform, and yeah, I'll log in. You guys are going to get to know my email address. Ready? It's writer@elizabethannwest.com. I know, super, super sneaky stuff here. But if I pick GPT-4 in my system prompt, and this is where this tool is so cool. I love this tool. So 16 is done. I can go to this completion section here, and I can just copy this because this is what was in system right here. So I'm going to copy that and bring it over to system. Bloop. And then my user is where we did a lot of context stuffing, but made it easy for the user. So I'm going to come back over to Rexy, and I'm going to go, okay, all of this is going in the user message. Read this. So that's what we're going to go. And then we click it over here and we paste that in and make sure that my max length is suitable, that it can go back and everything like that. We're not going to do the frequency penalty. I will bring my temperature down to 0.7 because that is what I have my settings for. When you bring your temperature down a little bit, it helps it to stay on track. And I'm going to click submit. And you'll notice this, it seems like it's a lot faster because it's right in time. But we're going to sit here and we're going to wait for it to finish. The difference between this and Rexy is Rexy, you just kind of see the little man running in the top, and it takes a minute or two. This one does the same amount of time, roughly. It's just, it has a better animation in the sense that it's showing the words one section at a time. But it actually takes about the same amount of time to run. I tested. So any questions so far? Does everyone see how that works? Yeah, there's definitely some rough edges. I broke it. And if I could break it, everyone else can break it too. So, and that was on me. That has to do with the context window. We need to have either some warning, and we'll have some messages that come up of like, hey, this is what the problem is. But it's me. I get nervous and then I can't do that. But tell me in the chat, what do you think of Rexy as a prompting tool that you can just on the fly in one place? I could be like, I'm going to use 4. No, I'm going to use 3.5. No, I'm going to use Claude, and I'm going to do these different prompts and things like that. And it just shoots out to Notion. And we're still waiting here. Okay. But this way you guys can see how you can do it. Can you run this prompt in GPT 16.5? Absolutely. I could grab this, and right here, I could go turbo 16K and I could run it again. Same thing in Rexy, a little bit different. Let's go back to the prompt. If I just want to run this again with 16K, all I got to do up here is change my model to turbo 16K, which has that 16,000 token context. So not an issue at all. And I'll bring up the maximum length that it can do. And I'm just going to change this to GPT 3.5 16K so that when it goes to Notion, I can distinguish it between the one that was 4. Oh, I need to always click update the LLM configuration. Make sure your button down here matches the model that you want to run. And now it's go time. So I just click it go, and now it's doing it again. And if I come back to my Notion page here, we can see that 16 is already there and it's ready to go. So now I can copy and paste this into our master outline. All right, our master outline is good. Confronts Lord Bromington about his behavior towards quitting. I wanted to make sure that element was in there. Okay, we are almost ready to do the other prompt of making it write some chapters with Claude. So the last little thing I'm waiting on, just so you guys can see, is that it does run 16K, 3.5. It's a lot faster. And it's not in there. Why is it not in there? Hold on, let's go see what happened. What did I do? I probably did something. Notion page. It did not like the Notion page. Why did it not like the Notion page? Prompter 2, Notion, quick Notion. Okay, that is a Notion issue. Got it. That's not a me issue. Okay. So Notion was deciding that I either need to update my token. These are things that we're figuring out. I love it when it will just go right to Notion. Hopefully it will do the next thing okay to Notion, or Notion's not broken, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so that one, it did start making the page and it just didn't bring it over, but not to worry. I can literally grab this completion. And this is what I love about this tool. It's not lost. Just because it didn't shoot to Notion, I can literally just grab this information and copy and paste it over into Notion. So this part of it that's very brittle, and it's really the only part that's brittle. As you guys can see, it sends the request to the APIs, no problems. The brittleness is getting it to write to Notion, and we're still practicing with it and pushing it through all of those hurdles there. But I do have a list of settings. I do have a list of story elements, and it's right here. So there we go. But the more important, so I'm going to go ahead and go forward with the next thing that I wanted to do here. And that was, we're going to go back to the prompter. Bloop. Okay, come back. Prompter. There we go. And now I'm going to go into novel writing, and I'm going to go into the Claude 2.0 continuous story and load that prompt. And when I go into the prompt window of it, this is where it's going to read characters. I've got to change the prompt again. And this always has like your previous completion, so it goes away. The read characters, so the system prompt just has that information there, and I've got to change this. I did read story brief is what I want to call it. I should have saved that prompt. That was on me, my bad. And then we'll fix this. And story so far, which is fine. And then write chapter number in only that one. So there we go. Make the chapter, we want to make it 2,500 to 3,000 words. You may expand the story beyond the story brief, so long as it does not contradict the story brief. And I do all caps just so that I can see it very clearly. Above all, what you write for chapter must connect seamlessly to chapter so far. And I know I'm going to do chapter 17, so I'm going to put in chapter 17, 3 men, Mr. Darcy, Duke of Devonshire, and the Earl of Derby should talk in Mr. Darcy's study about the Baslow-Dale dispute, possibly the upcoming inquest in London. Lots of discussion, some heated, and at the end of the scene, the Duke of Devonshire must ask for peace as the king's magistrate in the area until the matter can be taken, until the matter of Baslow-Dale. That's what we want to do. This goes back to prompting 101, everyone. If it's vague to me, it's vague to the AI. It could decide that the mining scheme is the matter I'm talking about here. That's already happening as an inquest in London. This is where I have to think for it. The matter of Baslow-Dale can be taken to London in January after Parliament is in session. Okay, so there we go. Now I need the story so far, which is going to be the this one with no notes. So we've got that. And we'll bring that into T-Rex. RAR. And then I'm not using the characters field. I'm going to use outline as the story brief. So even this one, I'll copy and paste that in. Now, I haven't really told it, this outline is not a real outline in the sense that it's really an outline of what's happened in the story so far. I don't have an outline for what the next chapters are going to be. I'm kind of giving the AI a little bit of carte blanche, and the only instructions it has is right here in the original prompt here of like in chapter 17, this should happen. And so I'm going to say that I want it to be in the 17th chapter. It's going to be chapter 17, mom number 6, Claude 2, prose. So I know. I don't know if that's going to work to Notion or not. We're going to see what happens. If it doesn't, we'll do it again and we'll just get the completion as is. Okay, let's check the AI settings. I always get the maximum length is set at 4,096 tokens because that's the maximum that Claude can actually output. And the temperature is good. So let's go ahead and process and see how that goes. And I'll check the chat here. Yes, sexy Rexy. So it really seems to help to make the AI go step by step. What helps the AI go step by step is actually our prompting. I'm going to lend it my thoughts and my genius and my understanding of what needs to happen next in the story. The AI is not capable. For example, it can't write a sentence, write 3 sentences and go, oh man, you know what? That first sentence, I need to fix that real fast because I did this in the third sentence. The artificial intelligence only moves in one direction, top down. The artificial intelligence can only kind of make a plan and then execute that plan. It can't really synthesize strong analysis or anything like that. It's looking at tokens and making calculations. And the tokens, something else too, which I kind of plan to show, and I might before the end of this, about some deeper theory about what the tokens are and how AI sees them and why this is a problem for us as language people. So again, this seems like it's taking a very long time, and that's because it goes out and it's right now what we can't see is what amuses us when it's on Claude 2, and it's like writing for us and it's just going. So actually, while that's processing, I think I can show the tokenizer. So this is actually kind of cool. So we'll come back to that as I can't get it out of my head. I know Ryan's in the audience. Every time I step away, I'm like, oh man, I could be doing the dishes right now, but I'm not going to do the dishes. We're going to do the tokenizer on OpenAI. And we're going to talk about tokens real fast. Some of you have already seen this. When we use tokens with the AI, we have no bananas. Okay, we have no bananas. We're all familiar with that. We have no bananas. So we have no bananas. And then a period. There's actually 5 tokens here, not 4. When I go to the token IDs, these are the actual numbers that the AI sees. And I want to point out that the word no in this sense is token number 645. 13, by the way, is the period. When we go here and I say, you did the dishes, comma, no, with a question mark. Everyone, is this no right here the same meaning and context as the we have no bananas? No. Sorry for it to be punny. But to the AI, it's the exact same token, 645, 645. So when we're creating our prompts and things like that, it really matters. If we are using words that have bunches of meanings, depending on the context they are, and spoiler alert, most of the words we use have multiple meanings depending on the context. You can see how the AI gets kind of confused about what it is that we're asking it to do. When we say no foreshadowing and no this, you did the dishes. No can have multiple meanings to the point that it can even mean yes. All right. Another thing that is important to think about too is let's talk about Wednesday. So if I take the word Wednesday and I type it in here, it's token number 27150. I'm going to press Shift Enter, and you're going to see 198. That is the token for a hard return. And then I'm going to put a lowercase Wednesday. That's token 319. Wait, that's not one token. What's going on? Come over to the text. You'll actually see lowercase Wednesday is broken down into 2 tokens, and uppercase Wednesday is not. And that's because I don't know why. That's the honest truth. But it's these weird idiosyncrasies that we have to understand. When a token is a piece of language that the developers decided, like this is a token, lowercase WED is a token. uppercase WED is probably its own token as well, because you can't have the word wed and it's a capital. Actually, let's do that. So, sorry. Let's go back to our token IDs here. So, Wednesday with the capital W is 27150. Wednesday lowercase is 2 tokens, 1919103 and 3462. And then capital wed, so like I don't know, meaning like the verb wed, 19864. So what does this all mean? This is complicated stuff. And the little pieces and fractions of words, they can get assigned numbers, which can make a whole difference to your calculation. And that is what impacts basically a bad dice roll. And we're going to go check on Rexy. But I want to continue this. I'm going to finish this up first real fast because I want to show this. Going back to Playground, there's actually a legacy mode called completion. This was the original one that we have here. If I say, describe for me a rose bed. And again, you should be familiar with some of these things. Temperature, we've talked about that. It controls how much it has to listen to you. Presence penalty controls the token's variability. Down here where it says show probabilities, I'm going to turn on full spectrum so that you can see the coloring to see how it's going to give it. And I'm just going to click submit, and it's going to describe for me a rose bed. And you'll notice that these words, these tokens that you see are color coded. If I was to highlight right here a rose bed, it'll show me that it does its calculation. So is 98.29% the most likely token in its calculations to follow after rosebed. But it also considered can, typically, would, and consists. And it rejected those for whatever reason when it made its decision. And then after it chose a rosebed is, then it had to make the calculation for A. A was calculated at a 79%. They could have done and then if it had done and, we would expect only words only tokens where garden is would have to start with what? A vowel. So that's where the previous token selection impacts the next token selection. So if the AI picks a token at the very beginning of the response that is a very low percentage for whatever reason, it can throw off the whole rest of this response. And understanding that this is how this works, this is the magic, this is what it does. There's no database out there that it's grabbing words from. It's not opening up Stephen King's book and going, let me go grab these lines and copy and paste. It's literally a roll of dice, every single piece of a word, every single token. It's a dictionary slot machine. Any questions about that? I'm going to go check to the chat here. We don't have a lot of chat going on right now, but hopefully, I know there's always a delay. So I'll wait patiently while everyone's brain. I'll come back to the chat in a second because there's like a 12-second delay. So let me go to Rexy and then we'll come back to that, the chat. Okay, so it ran chapter 17. I can have a completion preview, and it wrote 2,671 words. I come to my Brontosaurus. I come down here. I have Claude 17. It'll lie to you. It did not write 2,621 words. It actually only wrote 985. But at the bottom here, it did put an end so that I know that this was as much as it wrote. This isn't actually that bad because most of my chapters in this book are anywhere between 1,000 words and 2,000 words. So I can actually expand this. Before we validate this, let me go back to our chat just so that we can see how it's going. It's wild that the AI manages to be coherent at all. Yes, absolutely. And wait till I explain to you guys about vector search. Vector search, that is definitely a mind like bender. I liken it to a box with a galaxy of stars. So one of the reasons that the AI can make these calculations is because of vector search. And so going back to our playground, I know we're going so nerdy today, but I think that this is very important theory to understand, because if you're going to sit there and you're going to say, hey, you AI, continue my story, and it doesn't do it, you need to understand why it can't do it, because it's literally just calculating the words as it goes. Okay, so box full of galaxy of stars. Old search. All of us are used to tags and keywords, right? Like some of us, we cut our teeth on the early internet. We remember the world before there was keywords, and we remember the world after keywords when Google monetized those so that all websites had keywords and everything. And even the early Amazon store. How many of my people here remember the early days of publishing on Amazon where you would add tags to your books, right? And everybody remember when tags went away? And we all decided, oh, the tags went away because of abuse. No, the tags went away because that was actually the time period when the early advances in vector search were coming about. And Amazon has used them in their store for well over a decade, to the point that vector search is why when you log into your Amazon store, it has a prediction of what it thinks you're going to buy instead of only what you search and what you've already bought. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So the old ways of doing things, tagging. All right, so let's imagine we have a box, right? And we're going to throw some fruit and some vegetables in there. So there's going to be some apples and some bananas and some oranges and some broccoli and stuff. And we're just going to tag these things, fruit, vegetables. And then somebody's going to come up to us, and we have this big jumbled box full of produce. And I'm going to say, hey, I think I want something fruity. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to rummage in this box. And I'm going to like pull up everything that's got the fruit tag. And I'm going to go, here's everything with a fruit tag. And we've all experienced how that's way more helpful than it used to be, but it's not actually that helpful, right? Came along vector search. That's what happened with vector search. So instead of, we're going to throw all the fruit and the produce into one box. This is going to be, I know I really need to make an animation to visualize this, but I'm going to walk you through it so you guys can do it. We're going to have a box, and everybody knows a box is, well, I'm trying to see if I have something nearby me. We'll use a book as an example of a box. So my box has a front, it has a top and a bottom, and it has a left and a right. And that's just 3 dimensions, everyone. That's why we call this a 3D object. It's because it has 3 dimensions to it. Other advanced mathematical shapes have way more dimensions to it. If you guys can remember when you learned in school, like a dodecahedron, and you can imagine a 3-dimensional dodecahedron, and you can imagine all these little like lines going through it, you can start to understand that we can have a lot more dimensions than 3. But for this illustration, let's just do 3. Let's start with how we want to organize the objects inside this box: our apple, our banana, our orange, and our broccoli. Let's decide the bottom of the box is going to be stuff that's more vegetable-like, and the top of the box is going to be fruit-like. So our broccoli is going to be at the bottom of the box, and our apple and our orange and our banana are at the top of the box. We're doing pretty good, right? Now I have an actual location inside the box of where these objects exist. Okay, now let's do something else. Let's go left, and this is probably mirrored images, so I apologize with the video because I don't know. I'm going to go my left and my right. I realize it's probably backwards. But we'll say this side is acidic and this side is not acidic. So if all these fruit, the apple, orange, and banana, are sitting up at the top of the box, I can put my orange at the most acidic. It should be over here. My apple's somewhere in the middle, but closer to acidic. And my banana, not very acidic at all, right? It's going to be over sitting on this other side. So now I've organized these objects. Broccoli's at the bottom. We're not even going to talk about the broccoli. But I've got my orange and my apple and my banana up at the top of the box, and they're organized now based on their relationships to each other along the spectrum of acidity. Now let's do one last dimension. And if anyone's brain's hurting, I understand. My brain hurts too when I do this. Let's pretend this front of the box means that the fruit grows close to the equator, and this back of the box means that the fruit does not grow close to the equator. So my apple is going to move back, right? Because apples mostly grow the furthest away from the equator compared to those other fruits. The orange and the banana are going to stay up to the front. So now inside my box that you can't see, I can have mathematically an exact mathematical equation location for where the orange lives, the apple lives, and the banana lives. And that's how, when somebody says, I'm kind of feeling like an orange, but I don't want an orange, now I have the ability to identify what's close to an orange, but not an orange, and I don't hand you a banana. And that is vector search. But it's across many more dimensions and everything like that. It's literally a box that has a galaxy of stars inside of it. And that is what the large language models did. They took all those tokens of words. You saw those numbers on the tokenizer. 198 is a hard carriage return. It lives somewhere in this box close to the other punctuation. You know how I know? Because the other ones that I put in here. If I want a period, that's 13. If you want to know which one is token 0, it's an exclamation point. Do with that what you will. And I threw in another 198 because I did another hard carriage return. But even more so that in these training models, and this is why it's so difficult to train something, I think, we have an identity here of 13, but 13 is not the address of that token. Inside the training data, that 13 has an address that is a bunch of different numbers long that identify it for the large language model. What does that period mean in context for any other token you would put it and compare it against? And that's the math that it's doing. So is anyone still with me? Or did I just lose everyone by talking about math? Yeah, dictionary slot machine really brings it down a notch. And thank goodness for vector search, right? Because all of us have been making a ton of money on Amazon since vector search came around. Okay, so now it's time. Okay, even my head hurts from all the math. It's hard to visualize this. I really need to make illustrations for that. And I will. But these are some of the things that we do in like the Future Fiction Academy. Let's go back to Rexy and let's take a look at chapter 17, because chapter 17 ran, and bless its little heart, it's been waiting. And now I'm going to come over here and let's go ahead and read it. So I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud for those of you who aren't able to read it. Apologies. It's not very long. Mr. Darcy led the way to his study, his polished boots clicking authoritatively against the marble floor as he walked. Oh, that's AI. If we have clicking boots, it's AI. It's right up there with dappled sunlight. Let me reveal kind of a master trick here. I'm just going to grab that line, and Notion has AI baked in for $10 a month. And I'm going to just tell it to rewrite that. So let's see here. Rewrite that to remove cliche. Mr. Darcy strode purposely to his study, the sound of his polished boots echoing against the marble floor. Sure, fine, whatever. It's good enough. So I can replace the selection, or I can insert it below. I'll go ahead and replace it. So it's fine. Although we have an extra period, so I'll take that out. Earl of Derby and the Duke of Devonshire followed a few paces behind, an uneasy tension palpable between the three men. Upon reaching the study, Mr. Darcy opened the large oak door and gestured for the others to enter. I actually don't like that. I think that let's do this. The Duke of Devonshire began speaking about his orangery to the Earl. For those who don't know, historically speaking, the Duke of Devonshire is the Bachelor Duke. The reason bananas have Cavendish inside of their genus name or species name, one of the two, is because the Duke of Devonshire was the Duke of his last name was Cavendish. He was like a botanist, a really big botanist. So once I have this line and I know that I want him to speak to the orangery, I can ask AI and I can just expand this to include dialogue, and let's see what happens. The orange is coming along nicely, if I do say so myself. The new variety of citrus we imported from Italy is flourishing. If you don't see the appeal of such exotic fruits, give me an old-fashioned apple any day. Perfect. And that's exactly what I wanted. So replace this. Let's insert it below. So I'm expanding this a little bit. Upon reaching the study, Mr. Darcy, he opened. There we go. Please come in and make yourselves comfortable before moving to soak the fire that had diminished to glowing embers in his absence. So they're sitting down, cool. The Duke, after helping himself to a brandy from the sideboard. I love that. The Duke's like, I'm the Duke. I'm going to go pour myself a drink. He swirled the amber liquid slowly, the interplay. So that is going. 1 second here. Keep reading here. I just got a message because we have a lab actually starting at noon. So I do need to wrap this up in a few minutes. If you join the Future Fiction Academy, you do get 3 days free, and you can go to a lab that's starting at noon. The links are in there, Teachable and everything like that. Christine Breen is actually going to be doing a deep dive into BookBrush. They're fantastic people to work with. I've known them for years, and we do actually have a discount code for our students if they want to join BookBrush. So that's getting ready to kick off here in about 30 minutes. And that'll be through Zoom, and that's all in the Teachable. That link, the link to join the Future Fiction Academy, is down in the chat, or in the description rather. So, okay, back to this. We got about 15 minutes and then I have to wrap up. Okay, so the Earl chose the wingback chairs. As you know, the land dispute over Baslow Dale has gone on far too long already. It's in both of our interests to settle matter quickly and avoid any unpleasantness between our families. Unpleasantness, you say? Was it not unpleasantness when your tenant farmer took a shot at my man? Oh, so he already knows. So I need to have actually expand here some dialogue where Mr. Darcy wants to know how the Earl knows that. And the Duke asks if this is true. And Mr. Darcy says, yes, but, and then the next line. Okay, so I'm going to just grab this, ask the AI. We'll just paste that in. The Notion AI does read up. It doesn't read down, as far as we can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the selection. So that way I have how you came to know about the incident. I have ears and eyes all through Derbyshire. Darcy, do not understand my theory. But is it true? Did your man really get shot? Yes, it is true. Mr. Grant was acting in defense of his family's land as he saw it. The Duke raised an eyebrow. And why? What does your family say about this? My father has passed, and I'm not at liberty to speak. His mother is dead. So we're going to change this. My personal physician treated he's not going to say that. He's treated Derby's man. I'm taking the matters. Okay. Well, there you go, Derby. Your man didn't die. And there we go. The Duke took a healthy sip of brandy. Longwell, the hunting rights. Hunting rights, is that all you can have? Well, what about the land that right? Oh, this is perfect. I'm doing what I can to find a solution that is fair, but I will not be bullied or threatened. Gentlemen, please, there's no need for hostility. Let's work together to find a peaceful resolution. I like this. Okay. Was only protecting, so I can take this out and this out. And then I'll put a note here to myself to continue editing here. Okay. I am very happy with this result. So let's review. Okay. This thing was able to bring up a lot more by doing all the methodologies that we did with getting, the prompting down to where I have this like outline so far and the whole story so far. And I gave it some information about what I want to have next. I'm actually getting words here that this is like a junior writing partner to me, and I'm energized to start going in here and changing things. Coming back to the original Claude of what it wrote, just to compare what it did for chapter 17, when I just gave it and it just had its whatever it wanted to do, when I just gave it the entire manuscript and said, hey, do this. Now, I knew this prompt wasn't going to work, but this is like the dream, right? That you could give this prompt and it would just do the thing. It didn't do a bad job. It just did something I didn't want it to do, which it went to Rosings. I do plan to have that exact scene in Rosings, but it's got to be closer to Christmas. And this ball is not at Christmas. It's in the middle of December. It's a long story. And then chapter 18, it does have them at the study. And it does have the Earl studied his brandy. You know my position. It didn't do a bad job. It's just that it wrote right here 313 words. No mention of the Grants. Remember when this came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go find out what the name of those people are. The tenant farmers. Not the tenant farmers aren't important. They are. It's just I really suck at remembering side character names. So here, because we gave it that really long master outline and it was able to read what the heck happened. I think it's chapter 11. Is it? Let's see here. Yes. chapter 11. They're here. Everybody comes in. Josiah Grant comes in. And so it has what happens here. Carriages arrive. The Gardners arrive first. Mrs. Reynolds helps guests. The Duke of Devonshire, his wife arrive. The Earl of Derby. Josiah Grant interrupts the event, requesting Mr. Darcy and Dr. Matthews to help with a man who has broken his leg. Mr. Darcy leaves to help, and Elizabeth assures him she will rest once Lady Matlock returns. Then chapter 12, it says where we are, and it says we're at Baslowdale, at the Grant farm. Latham House is mentioned. That's the house of the Earl, and Mr. Nagy is the steward of Latham House. And then we have here the list of storybeat elements and what happens. So the AI was able to take that into consideration when it was deciding tokens out of the Galaxy of Stars box. So suddenly, because I was giving it this information, the token Grant jumped up in the probabilities because it was in the information that was passed into the prompt. That's all we're doing. When we pass things into a prompt, we are impacting the tokens that it decides to choose next. And that's why prompting matters. So I'm really satisfied with this. I think we have a good start. Tomorrow, let's see here. I have catch up on edits. Nope, I'm not doing that. I'm already caught up there. Okay, so tomorrow morning, same time, same bat channel. We'll be here at 10 a.m. And I really think that we're going to be able to I'm going to have some brainstorming of like where I want the story to go and negotiate it and navigate it. Tomorrow, bring your manuscripts and come and sit and work aside if you want to. But I will be mostly doing, it won't be so much as education on AI. It's going to be, let's get it done. Let's throw it in there and start editing and everything like that. I am going to go ahead and finish editing this chapter probably tonight, just so that it's all done for tomorrow. And I will copy and paste some of these examples and stuff like that into that document that's on Notion, so you guys can see the different methodologies so far, what's not worked, what has worked. And some of this prompting and stuff that you guys have. It's not secret prompting. I mean, really and truly, it's not. The system, you're giving it some characters, you're giving it the outline, you're giving it, pieces of the story so far, and you're telling it what to do. What is secret sauce is being able to change that prompt on the fly, being able to adapt your prompt as new models come down, and working together as teams. We have an accountability program that's starting up too in the Future Fiction Academy. We're calling Club Stratemeyer, Club Strat. Stratemeyer Syndicate, they are responsible for Nancy Drew, the Hardy Boys, and everything like that. And that was a system over 100 years ago of a really brilliant man, Mr. Stratemeyer. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head. But, he had this vision of like, let's have one series and let's have a bunch of different authors writing on it. And they have to follow a formula. And we all know the success of Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, right? We all cut our teeth reading those books. So by using and harnessing AI as our pool of junior writers, and we are the senior writing director and making the final decision, I know this is crap. This is not enough to publish. You cannot, you could, but I'm not going to publish a 350-word chapter. So it's incumbent upon me as the senior writing partner, as the professional in this relationship, to take this little bit of this nugget and expand it into something that's going to make my readers delighted. Thank you so much for coming to this live. I'll get the link into the description very soon. I will share it one more time into the chat, just since everyone is here real fast, of this help. I have to finish a novel. And hopefully I've given some indication that we are doing really well. And again, lab is kicking off at noon. And so at noon is when we're going to be doing Book Brush. And Aisling, I see you in the chat. I think you're teaching on Thursday TikTok, no? So yeah, the Academy has a lot of exciting things coming up this week. So definitely make sure that you join and you check it out. Okay. All right. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. Good luck in your writing projects, and keep rolling those dice. If you don't get the result that you want, run it one more time. Make sure that it wasn't just a bad dice roll before you start changing your prompt and everything, because you might have had it right. All right. Take care. See you soon.